Hey everybody, welcome to NetSupport Insights. I'm Maggie, and today I'm talking with Phil Hintz from Niles Township School District in Illinois. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're very happy to. You have several sessions at ISTE this year, so tell us, what are you talking about?
Well, yesterday we had a really nice future forward forum for AI for leaders. That was it was a panel session. We had over 200 people in there talking about how to chart the course, the roadmap to implement AI in a school district. So, and all the considerations that you have to have while you're doing that.
Now with AI, I know a lot of districts are very hesitant about bringing it in and letting people use it. What would you recommend, and what are some things that they can do to start easing in if they're very nervous?
Yeah, I mean, it's, we started over a year ago on it, looking at how we could integrate AI into our strategic plan and our mission statement. So we kind of recrafted our mission statement and our strategic plan with the idea that everybody has access to AI and what the efficiencies and capabilities that AI can bring to actually meeting the mission statement and meeting the strategic plan. So we started there. Then we thought, okay, we got to have a policy because you got to have a policy for everything. But as we started crafting that, we realized that plagiarism and cheating, whether you use AI or not, is still plagiarism and cheating. And we already have a code of conduct for that. We already have academic honesty policies. So we're just, AI just is going to be under that umbrella.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a separate entity. So that was our approach there. That was our second approach. Now, as we go into this next school year, we are actually we decided to embrace two different tools that we are going to equip teachers with, that we are going to invest in with time and professional development, and of course buying the whole enterprise license of it. But doing that, you had to take some time we have data privacy agreements with every vendor we work with. If we don't have it, we don't do business with you.
Yep.
So same goes for these AI tools. I needed to make sure that they would sign my data privacy agreement, which they did. But then I realized I got challenged by an author that's here at the conference. His name is Ken Shelton. Ken Shelton and Dee Lanier just wrote a wonderful book on the idea of the ethics and equity that are in these products, and what are these AI companies doing with the data that they now receive?
Yes.
And how could they be possibly perpetuating bias because of the data that they're receiving? So I then got this list of 7 questions, now it's 10 questions in the book, from Ken to then forward to these vendors and said, okay, where are you with these ideas? I mean, is your staff a diverse staff that is working with it? So do they understand the need to be sensitive to different cultures and sort of, and is the AI training their own bots? Are they doing the training with our student data? How does that work? Who owns the data? Who cleanses the data?
Yep.
And so once we asked all those questions, and if they were to our satisfaction, then we signed a contract with them.
Very good.
Yeah, so that's been the part of the process.
Yeah, I can imagine. But I love that you're not reinventing the wheel. You're like, okay, who's got a good idea of what to do? We're going to take that. Like, don't write your own questions. Yeah. Take the ones that are already there. Work with that. Trust the people who kind of have more experience in that, which I think is so important. That's why ISTE is so great. We're learning from each other. And you've got a session on data privacy coming up too, don't you?
Yes, on Tuesday, student data privacy. How we've worked it in our state of Illinois. We're actually part of the Student Data Privacy Consortium, SDPC, and so when we do a data privacy agreement, it's 22 pages long, thanks to our lawyers and the lawyers of the state. But we go through that process of how that's cataloged, and once we have that, we have a public-facing website that shows our parents exactly all the ones of our trusted apps and what data we are sharing with each one of those trusted apps. So we talk about that. We talk about the difference between that agreement and what is COPA, what is FERPA, some of the other privacy laws that are out there. I also go into intellectual property, and when a teacher creates some great curriculum or something that they want to add, if they've used district, district devices or softwares, then really the district owns that intellectual property, not the teacher. So make sure that people understand that and how that works out.
And it feels like there's a lot that we individually don't know, that you need collective knowledge to do that. Like the teachers might not have realized with intellectual property about how those things work. What do you guys do to help educate your staff to make sure they're aware of what can they use, what can they not use? How does that work?
Well, and that's why we're kind of starting slowly. If you're talking AI apps, which is the new thing of what can I use? Can I go ahead and send all my information to ChatGPT of all about my students so that I can get personalized instruction? No, you can't. No, please don't do that, because ChatGPT and OpenAI will not sign a data privacy agreement.
No, they will not.
So don't. But we, made sure we partner with companies that would agree to that, and so that's what we tell our teachers. It's okay to share data with this company and this company because we have agreements in place that everybody's going to be protected.
Yeah.
And so we educate them in that way, and then we have a team that's going to be piloting several AI platforms that are out there, ones that we're wanting to do business, but we wanted to start small and work our way up. These are the kind of the ones that are going to be the pioneers and looking at, okay, what's next after these first two that we start with? What are some of the other tools and why?
Yeah.
So we have a really good app vetting process, and then we also have a good app decommissioning process as well.
That's really helpful too, because I know a lot of times you'll get something and then it's getting rid of it as well, and that data privacy, making sure that everything's cleansed, nothing's been left out there with your students.
Absolutely.
Especially.
Yep.
That's wonderful. Now you were telling me that you're working on your dissertation,
Yes.
which is super impressive, but it's about AR and VR,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
Okay, can you share any of the little
Sure,
secrets you learned?
absolutely. My research question, if you will, is I want to understand the impact of augmented reality and virtual reality for students with intellectual disabilities in learning life and occupation skills. That's the question as a whole. Gotten pretty good at practicing saying that.
You're doing well. Good.
And so I'm really trying. I'm doing a kind of a pre-interview and a post-interview. It's a qualitative data study, and I'm looking at transition students, which is near and dear to my heart because I have a son with special needs, and all his life he's wanted to be a firefighter. And he could tell you all the tools and all of the trucks and all of the equipment that a firefighter uses. He's actually going to be turning 21. His name's Joshua. He's going to be turning 21 this week. He has Down syndrome. Because he has Down syndrome, even though he could understand what the equipment is used for, would a fire department ever hire him? I'm hoping they would, but would they ever let him fight a fire? In virtual reality, he can fight that fire. He can maybe even get burned in virtual reality without physically getting burned, and learn how not to get burned, how to avoid that by practicing it over and over again. So I love the idea of failing in virtual reality so that you can be successful and confident in reality.
Yes.
So that's where my prefaces come from with the study. And so I'm going to be interviewing several students using a platform actually called, they might actually be here, it's called Florio, that does social scenarios in VR.
Wonderful.
300 different ideas, like everything from crossing the street and how to do that, and navigating a grocery store, to answering questions on how to do an interview in virtual reality, so that you can learn from your mistakes in that process, so that when you do go again doing real life, you will be more confident and successful.
I love that, because you hear about VR and AR being used for things like, in medical school, they're practicing on virtual corpses and things than real ones so they don't make mistakes, or virtual dentistry. But with neurodiverse students especially, for them, that's not the challenge. It's things like social situations. Simple things like going through a grocery store where the anxiety of that might prevent them from feeling uncomfortable, but to allow people to practice in a more controlled situation, learn from their mistakes, like you said, then they're more prepared for what it is they're going to do when they get out, like you said, when they transition. I think it's a absolutely brilliant use of AR and VR. And
so it's a qualitative data study. So I want to hear from, so I'll be interviewing the students after they've experienced, because I want to know, hey, after doing this, do you feel confident of walking into the grocery store and maybe even finding the products that are on a grocery list,
Yeah.
you know, and you know what, that's what my study is.
Gotta make
Hopefully
sure it's
between now and December, I'll be done doing that study, and I'll be closing up the dissertation.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we want to definitely hear the results of
Okay,
that, see how everything turns out. Is there anything else that you're excited about at ISTE that you want everyone to know about or kind of jump onto?
Well, I mean, it's good to have so many people back in person, you know, because I really think brings the conversation together. We can learn from each other. I think that is so important. It's good to see all the different vendors that I see around here, you know, able to have hands-on. You can't do that through Zoom.
Yeah.
You know, you have to have hands-on connection. And so, and then talking to the experts that are in here too, there's, I always like to say, you know, who's the smartest person in the room? It's the room, right? So it's everybody. It's a combination of everybody. And then seeing old friends and catching up and, hey, what challenges do you have? What are you working on for this next year? It never ends.
No, it doesn't. Every year, like, oh no, I finished that. Now I'm doing this, or this new thing has popped up. So well, that's really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll say happy birthday to Joshua this week. I don't know when this will go out, but
Yeah.
hopefully you can catch it afterwards. We appreciate you stopping
Thank
by
you.
and hanging out
All right.
with us.
Thank you.
All right, and thanks everybody.
All right.